Coming in at number 10, we have Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. One of America's very first superheroes in the Marvel Universe during the Second World War, Steve Rogers is notorious for dodging certain death after surviving his plane crashing into the frozen Atlantic Ocean through suspended animation. Even since becoming a modern hero, however, Cap still can't seem to stay dead, with the occasion where he seemed to be assassinated by Crossbones actually resulting in his consciousness traveling through time. An inconvenient misadventure, but certainly less permanent than death. And given the fact that the Super Soldier Serum also seems to at least drastically slow Steve's aging, and Captain America just might be more immortal than you'd think. Coming in at number 9, we have Alec Holland, aka the Swamp Thing. The being that now calls itself Alec Holland is in reality the Avatar of the Green, an immortal being dedicated to protecting all nature and plant life on planet Earth, that absorbed the memories and consciousness of a man named Alec Holland after a tragic chemical explosion in the swamps of Louisiana. As long as there exists some form of plant life on Earth, the Swamp Thing can regrow his body from this plant and transfer his consciousness, essentially ensuring that there'll always be an Avatar of the Green protecting Earth, and that the memory of Alec Holland will truly never ever die. Coming in at number 8, we have Jean Grey, aka the Dark Phoenix. An X-Men storyline and character turn so iconic that they've tried turning it into a movie on 2 separate occasions, Jean Grey has long been one of the ideal hosts of the Phoenix Force, a fiery power that's one of the oldest in the Marvel Universe. This incredible force is capable of healing any injury that Jean receives, and is even capable of resurrecting her entirely if she's killed by unnatural means. Combined with her natural mutant abilities already making her one of the most powerful telepaths in the entire Marvel Universe, potentially rivaling even those of Professor X, and Jean Grey will be one of the most important mutants for many, many ages to come. Coming in at number 7, we have Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. As the physically strongest member of the Fantastic Four with an intimidating appearance to boot, the Thing is respected throughout the Marvel world for always having his family's back, and even being capable of standing up to someone as powerful as the Hulk when the need arises. Ben's change into a being made out of a mysterious rock-like substance also had some unexpected side effects, however, such as the fact that while in Thing form, he never ages. This is offset slightly by the fact that Ben is capable of appearing human for 1 day a year due to the tinkering of the rest of the Fantastic Four, but aging only 1 day a year extends your lifespan dramatically, and combine that with all of the near-death situations or universal collapses that the Fantastic Four have avoided together, and Ben Grimm definitely earns the title of being practically immortal. Coming in at number 6, we have the Incredible Hulk, aka Bruce Banner. Considering the Hulk's most popular and critically acclaimed series of the last decade was literally called the Immortal Hulk, obviously the big green guy earns a spot on this list. Built around the twist that the Incredible Hulk has always been immortal and that Bruce Banner first died during the original Gamma Bomb explosion and has been constantly resurrecting ever since, this series took the Hulk into a wild new body horror direction. With all Gamma-powered beings apparently being connected to the One Below All in a way that allows them to circumvent even the natural process of death, the Hulk is apparently a problem that can never be permanently solved. Coming in at number 5, we have Kevin Connor, aka STARBRAND. Taking his name from the literal star brand he possesses, Kevin is one of the most powerful heroes to ever be called an Avenger, gaining his powers during an Earth-wide cosmic flash known as the White Event. Gaining the ability to control and manipulate energy at a scale only limited by his imagination, STARBRAND is incredibly physically powerful and capable of healing any wound on both himself or any of his allies. STARBRAND is so powerful that he's one of the few beings to ever kill a Beyonder, destroying one of the multiversal beings when the Marvel Universe was collapsing in a massive explosion, yet somehow reappearing unharmed once the Marvel Universe was restored. And if you can heal from an explosion at the end of all existence, I think you might be able to survive pretty much anything. Coming in at number 4, we have Thor Odinson, the god of thunder. While several Marvel and DC superheroes have godlike powers, Thor is one of the very few that counts as a literal god. Having protected both Midgard and Asgard for thousands upon thousands of years, Thor has already had eons worth of adventures by the time we were introduced to the character in the comics. And according to all the storylines that feature an older All-Father Thor, he'll continue to outlive the rest of the Avengers by thousands and thousands of years more. With even the Norse apocalypse of Ragnarok focusing on the concept of renewal and rebirth, Thor is a heroic god that will likely never truly see a permanent end. Coming in at number 3, we have the notoriously durable Wolverine. When Wolverine was first introduced in the comics, his healing ability was just a quirk that made him a more intimidating warrior. Any cuts or bruises would just quickly become a non-issue to him. But as time went on and Wolverine became a more popular character, his healing abilities as a mutant became one of his most defining features, even more so than his iconic claws. Wolverine's healing abilities, combined with his indestructible adamantium skeleton, have been shown to be so great over the years that he's even been able to withstand the full force of a nuclear bomb, and getting his entire body ripped in half by the Ultimate Hulk. Even in the few instances where someone has been able to officially kill Wolverine, he's somehow found his way back to the land of the living through time travel or magical means, ensuring that Wolverine will live on to fight another day. Coming in at number 2, we have the one and only Superman. Perhaps the most iconic superhero of all time, Superman is also where giant death of a hero events hit their peak, with the huge 90s cultural moment of the death of Superman. After a grueling multi-issue battle through the streets of Metropolis that saw Superman giving up his life to defeat the unstoppable killer Doomsday, it appeared that the Man of Steel was dead for good. However, after a long storyline that saw multiple imposter Supermen show up, Superman was shown to have not truly died, but merely been placed in Kryptonian stasis until he was able to be healed enough to resume being a superhero. Even after the beating of a lifetime from a complete monster, Superman remained unstoppable and has remained unkillable to this day. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the Venom symbiote. In a potential alternate future seen in the one-off story called Venom: The End, it was revealed that the most famous symbiote in the Marvel Universe has a longer shelf life than you'd expect. Keeping his host Eddie Brock alive for hundreds of years past a normal human lifespan, this story explores the symbiote finally letting go of its oldest friend and becoming the sole organic being left in a universe slowly dying to an artificial intelligence plague known as the God Mind. The symbiote wound up being the very last living thing before the universe was reset, showing that the most immortal creature in the Marvel Universe might just be a pile of black goo. No offense, Venom.
In its end, Moon Knight. Mark Spectre is better known as the vigilante Moon Knight. Once a mercenary, Mark Spectre was left for dead in the desert, where he was revived by the moon god Khonshu. Appointed Khonshu's first and high priest, Moon Knight enacts justice to protect those who travel at night. Spectre also suffers from dissociative identity disorder, which has paved the way for his use of other identities, including millionaire Stephen Grant, and cab driver Jake Lockley. Since the early days, Mark has mostly worked alone, but he's also been a member of a few superhero teams, including the Avengers and Heroes for Hire. Recently, Mark discovered that he had a daughter named Beatrice with his longtime lover Marlene Arlone. But when Khonshu sensed Mephisto's plans for world domination, Mark left her to fight by his god's side and prevent that from coming true. When Khonshu succumbed to madness, however, Mark had to turn against him and help the Avengers defeat him. However, whenever Moon Knight would end up dying, Khonshu would just bring him back to life. So yeah, in essence, he's immortal. In at 9, Elongated Man. As his name suggests, the elongated man can stretch his limbs and body to superhuman lengths and sizes. There seems to be no limit to how far or wide he can stretch, but it's more difficult to control this ability the further he's actually stretched out. However, this also allows him to absorb bullets and then even just shoot them back by tightening his skin. He can also contort his body into various positions and sizes impossible for ordinary humans, such as being entirely flat so that he can slip under a door, or using his fingers to pick conventional locks. He can also use it for a disguise by changing the shape of his face, although this is painful and difficult for him. But being able to stretch and move your body at will could also potentially allow you to stretch your life for longer than it should be. I mean, like, if his heart is giving out, theoretically, Ralph can just like force his heart to keep pumping by literally doing it himself, right? He can like shrink his heart and make it pump, right? So like it is partially possible, or at least there is a slight chance that he could be immortal, which is after all what this list is all about. It's might be immortal, right? In at 8, Ghost Rider. Jonathan Johnny Blaze, aka Ghost Rider, is an American motorcycle stunt performer and entertainer turned spirit of vengeance. He was the son of famed stuntman Barton Blaze, who tragically died during a stunt. He became bound to Zarthos and the spirit of vengeance after making a deal with the demon Mephisto to spare the life of his surrogate father, Crash Simpson. Now, with the power to control hellfire and to inflict pain on those deemed evil with his penance stare, Blaze seeks vengeance, riding his hell cycle as the Ghost Rider. But like, being the spirit of vengeance, being in debt to Mephisto kinda makes you pretty immortal in my book. Like, in human form, Johnny has no possession of any superhuman powers or supernatural capabilities, but as Ghost Rider, he's the supernatural combination between experienced motorcyclist and Zarthos. As the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze possesses a variety of supernatural powers at his disposal. However, any weapon crafted from heaven or like blessed can mutilate the Ghost Rider, which is the only way to decapitate and kill a spirit of vengeance. So without that, he's immortal. In at 7, Supergirl. Last part, Josh talked about how Superman was basically unkillable ever since the Death of Superman comic event, since he hadn't really been killed by Doomsday and instead was placed in Kryptonian stasis until he was able to be healed enough to return to being a superhero. However, the same thing can be said about Supergirl, okay? Kara Zor-El, Kal-El's older cousin who got sucked through a wormhole, making her quite a bit younger than her cousin when she got to Earth. Despite this, okay, Kal and Kara have the same Kryptonian ancestry, making them equals. So if Superman is basically unkillable at this point, so is Supergirl. It's just basic math, or like weird comic book genetics math. Since he equals her, they would both be deemed unkillable or immortal. And I think that that's fairly cut and dry. Like, obviously they can be killed, but so can basically everyone on this list, okay? So let's just cut the semantics and just like ignore the nuance. I just said that to a YouTube comments section. Wonder how effective that's gonna be. And at 6, Spider-Man. First officially referenced in 2005's official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Alternate Universes 2005 number 1, the sliding time scales is an attempt to quantify the passage of time in Earth 616 so that the characters don't age noticeably. Earth 616 featuring a sliding time scale means that rather than being fixed to any date in history, the modern era, which starts with the events of Fantastic Four number 1 and continues to the present, continuously slides forward in time. This period is roughly 13 years, which means that at any time in the present, the space flight that gave birth to the Fantastic Four always happened around 13-14 years ago, meaning that basically everyone in the Marvel Universe can't die of old age. Meaning that while stories like Spider-Man Reign, among others, take place in a time where Spider-Man is old, his main 616 version is pretty damn immortal, especially because he's Marvel's most popular superhero, which means that this man has like a death grip on Marvel so hard that they cannot physically let him go. Halfway through into number 5, Wonder Woman. The Dark Knight's death metal story wrapped up early 2021 with issue number 7, and in that issue and the issue before, we see Wonder Woman at her most powerful, in a godlike form that's even more powerful than a god. As the comic book puts it, quote, "She has been a god before, but at this moment, she's more. At this point, she has ascended past godhood and can see all of time and all realities. She sees every Earth's timeline, and she faces off against the Batman who laughs in his most powerful form. This fight is so intense that they literally hit each other through time itself. Diana here is also charged with anti-crisis energy, a connective force that links all history and all lives as one story. Then, she moves on to become one of the hands that creates the multiverse going forward, with no walls and greater possibilities. So she aids in creating the future state story, which we see in the next issues, and that was seemingly the centerpiece of DC 2021. So Wonder Woman becoming a god and remaking the universe sounds pretty immortal if you ask me. And at 4, Mr. Fantastic. In addition to the whole sliding timescale thing, which actually starts with him, making him immortal as well, Reed Richards' abilities also make him quite powerful. Mr. Fantastic possesses the ability to convert the mass of his entire body into a highly malleable state at will, which is what allows him to stretch. However, this also gives him the ability to absorb bullets and make himself more dense, basically all the reasons why Elongated Man would be immortal like I explained earlier. But the reason Reed has a leg up on Ralph is because of his son. Franklin Richards is one of, if not the most powerful being in the entire Marvel universe, even as an infant boy. This guy came to the present from the future and made Galactus his herald. Yeah, this dude made Galactus his And Mr. Fantastic's kid being somehow the most overpowered thing in the universe, there's no way that he would let his father die. If he wanted to, he could just like blink and his father would be resurrected. That's some Omega level shit. Like, he is like a Zeta level mutant, okay? It's insane. There's no way that this guy is dying. There's no way his dad is dying. I'll save Franklin Richards though for another list because I'm gonna need more numbers if there is one. Getting close to the end, in number 3, Batman. Batman is possibly immortal for the same reason that Spider-Man is, in a way. Well, at least like the whole popularity thing. Probably even more so because there is no way that they would kill off Batman in the main continuity. They may have other timelines or Earths where Batman dies, but never in the main continuity will they pull a move this big, okay? His plot armor is what makes him immortal. It doesn't matter if Batman has been a thing for over 80 years, he will always be young and immortal, at least in our world. And even if Bruce does die, someone takes over the Batman mantle, and people commonly see the one who takes over as the proper Batman, since the public doesn't know that Bruce being dead means that Batman is dead, but you know, whatever. Honestly though, Batman would end up killing Death if the story needed it, and honestly there would be no question in people's minds. They'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. In the comments of times Batman embarrassed his villains, everyone seems to agree with me that Batman's greatest power isn't his money or his courage, but instead the plot armor given to him because he's DC's biggest moneymaker. But ultimately, in at number 2, Sentry. Sentry is an absolute powerhouse, so it's no surprise that he's basically immortal, okay? Even like any threat this dude will take on. Sentry has even fought and beaten Ares, which is already impressive, but how he did it is even better. Sentry used to be a part of Norman Osborn's Avengers, who went to Asgard in an attempt to lay siege and claim it, because you know, it's Norman Osborn's Avengers. However, the Marvel version of the Greek god of war didn't like that idea, so after he learned of Osborn's intentions, he came down to kill the Green Goblin. But Ares did not anticipate the absolute powerhouse that is Sentry. Sentry's monster arms. He picked him up and tore him in half. Okay? Like, how the absolute living hell did this man tear a Greek god in half? He absolutely obliterated the god of war without breaking a sweat. And if that doesn't show you the sheer power of Sentry and how overpowered Marvel thinks that Superman is, then nothing will actually show you at this point. You're a lost cause. But yeah, I feel like that makes him immortal. And finally, in at number 1, The Flash. Technically speaking, the comic version of Barry Allen survived Crisis on Infinite Earths, despite everyone believing him to be dead, since he returned to the Speed Force after turning into the lightning bolt that gave him his powers to begin with. That's also an interesting story. But after transforming into pure lightning, traveling through time and space, and striking himself, Barry was sent back into the Speed Force, and later escapes and comes back into our world in the Flash Rebirth storyline. So technically, he survived the comic version of Crisis because he didn't die. Okay, he just transcended dimensions, which is a damn testament to how the Flash will never really die, okay? If he can have a very public and very impactful sacrifice to save literally all of reality and then just be brought back because he just went into the Speed Force like some sort of speedster Valhalla, it just makes me think that if any speedster dies, they'll just go into the Speed Force and then be able to be brought back. And in reality, every character is immortal if the writers want to bring them back for whatever reason. They will always find a way. And at 10, Squirrel Girl. There are 2 types of people in this world, those who have heard of Squirrel Girl and those who don't know what true happiness really is. Suffering a modification in her genes for unknown reasons, Doreen Green gained squirrel-like abilities, most obviously in the form of a prehensile tail, but she was somehow not a mutant. She realized she could communicate with squirrels when she overheard one in her window. She saved it from being chased by a dog and they ultimately became friends. That squirrel encouraged her to use her powers to help people, but he also called himself Monkey Joe, so I don't know if he was a comedian or just stupid. Her first appearance was in Marvel's Superheroes Volume 2 number 8 in 1991 alongside Iron Man, but only really got traction in the 21st century when fans went nuts for her. Get it? Nuts for her? Because she's a squirrel girl. Well, anyway, due to her popularity and wholesome nature, there isn't really gonna be an opportunity for her to get killed off, especially when she's gone up against Galactus, Thanos, and Dr. Doom without a scratch. Unless we believe Rick and Morty, which says that if you overhear squirrels, you're gonna have to leave the whole dimension. So I think that's really the scary part. She's probably in cahoots with the squirrels, toppling nations. you know. And at 9, HEADPOOL. On Earth 2149, the reality was similar to that of the 616 universe we are familiar with only a few differences. One of them being Steve Rogers was Colonel America, and one of them being a literal zombie plague that turned all superheroes into zombies. Fairly topical if you ask me. Well, the Deadpool of this universe has another thing coming, since after a fight with the Silver Surfer, he was brought to Earth 616, where he took out Jennifer Kale's magic. He was thought to have been killed when he got lured into the blades of a nearby skiff, completely obliterating him. But since he was the only one with the virus on this Earth, he was contained by armor. Deadpool was now only a head, but still managed to escape Armor HQ with the help of Simon Garth. HEADPOOL is basically just zombie Deadpool's head, and the fact that this exists is so Deadpool it hurts. And the fact that he didn't die when reduced to only a head is something that would literally kill almost anyone else is proof enough that HEADPOOL cannot be killed. The merc with half a mouth is still hopping around and gonna bust the cap in your ass because it's the only thing he can reach with the gun. Pretty funny, but still scary since, you know, it's a thing. It's a zombie head. Jeez. And it ain't Lobo. Let's face it, Lobo is one pretty scary looking dude. While first he was introduced as a villain in the 80s, he was revived as an anti-hero in the early 90s after his creators forgot about him. How can you forget about him? Lobo is one crazy bounty hunter, with muscles that are more ripped than my homework every time I told my teachers that my dog had eaten it. I didn't have a dog. And with the attitude and outfit to match. I think the scariest part about him though is just the hair. He even ended up joining the new Justice League at one point, becoming one of its founding members. Lobo probably has one of the coolest power sets. While it may not be super speed or the power of the gods, he can shake off blows from even Superman, taking planet-destroying attacks without a scratch. But he is also banned from entering both heaven and hell, making him functionally immortal. If you aren't allowed to enter the afterlife, I'm pretty sure you won't be able to even get the chance to. And honestly, I'm already banned from entering one of them, so all I need is the other one to hate me and I'm golden. I'll be in the same boat as Lobo. Just wish I had those muscles though. And at 7, the Eternal Warrior. Being named such because he existed prior to recorded history, the Eternal Warrior is one of 3 brothers who are also as ancient as my 12th grade contact teacher. Boom! I haven't let it go. He has defended Earth for thousands of years and has acquired a millennia of military knowledge, and more than just that, he has seen history unfold. Other than being immortal, he possesses increased strength, agility, incredible durability, and an incredibly impressive healing factor that allowed him to survive nuclear fallout. Within the Valiant universe that he was written into, there is no known way of killing him. He is sworn to protect the Geomancers to ensure their survival. These people have a special bond with the Earth, and there must always be one alive to protect it and speak for it. In more ways than one, the Eternal Warrior is the protector of Earth more than Hal Jordan or any other hero. As long as the planet exists, the Eternal Warrior will as well, which is pretty dope. When only the inevitable heat death of the universe can kill you? I'd take that. And at 6, Ghost Rider. Johnny Blaze agrees to give his soul to the devil in order to save his father's life. Because of this, at night, when he is around evil, he becomes surrounded in literal hellfire and his head becomes a fiery skull. First appearing in Marvel Spotlight number 5, Ghost Rider rides a fiery motorcycle and can launch blasts of hellfire from his typically skeletal hands. There have been many incarnations of Ghost Rider over the years, notably Johnny Blaze, Noble Kane, Danny Ketch, and Robbie Reyes. The fact that there will never not be a Ghost Rider serves as more of a permanent way of not being able to die, but that's in spirit. The whole making a deal with the devil and becoming a literal hellfire demon when around evil thing helps too, and is probably more along the lines of what was expected for this list, especially because who doesn't want to ride a motorcycle that cool? I remember in high school I wanted to get my motorcycle license instead of my driver's license since I could drive a motorcycle by myself faster than a car, but my mom wouldn't let me. Well, look at me now, Mom. On my own and unable to afford the test or even a damn motorcycle. Halfway through at number 5, the Hulk. The Hulk is one bad mamma jamma, and the fact that he is made from radiation should remind you that there is no way of killing this guy. Bruce himself even said in the first Avengers movie he tried to kill himself as Bruce, but Hulk spit the bullet out. This is even further solidified by the Future Imperfect storyline, when Hulk is brought 100 years into the future and sees himself, still alive even after a nuclear war that had killed almost all of Earth's superhumans. This war, by the way, had also taken the world to the brink of extinction, meaning Hulk, or Maestro as he was known then, was one of the only remaining souls in existence. but I guess technically that can be said about all of us, even right now. This, in combination with Maestro absorbing the radiation from the nukes, giving him increased strength, proves to be too much for Professor Hulk. Maestro is only able to be destroyed by the same bomb that created the Hulk in the first place, which is honestly understandable, like when your parents say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out, even though they legally can't, but that's aside the point. If you can only be destroyed by the thing that created you, you will never be able to be destroyed again, unless time travel is possible, in which case this was, so. Yeah. And at 4, the Spectre. The Spectre is an entity who needs to bind itself to the soul of a human being. However, the human who becomes the Spectre must already be dead, which may defeat the purposes of this list if you think about it, but I'm talking about the Spectre itself, not the person it inhabits, so apples and oranges. The Spectre is omnipotent and immortal, having powers over reality, interdimensional travel, technically resurrection, and increasing to infinite size and a lot more that honestly doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in honesty, it's comics. Not making sense makes it make sense. Just like that sentence. The Spectre has had many hosts over the years, Jim Corrigan, Crispus Allen, Hal Jordan, and Oliver Queen to name a few, the latter being in the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, where while Oliver Queen might have died, the Spectre itself is impossible to destroy, making him probably the most powerful being in the DC universe. I kinda wanna be the Spectre, that green cloak's kinda bomb. Not gonna lie. And at 3, Franklin Richards. Hey, it's Franklin. Franklin Richards is one powerful kiddo, like the son of a Karen who stepped on a Lego with a full shoe on, but who's crying because he broke the Lego powerful. The mutant son of Sue Storm and Reed Richards is one of the most powerful beings in Marvel canon. This Omega level mutant possesses the ability to completely alter reality, and that in a way makes him immortal. Having complete control over the fundamental forces of the universe is a pretty big power to have when you're a toddler who just wants chicky nugs and choco milk. His powers even allowing him to perceive future events. Sure, you could just push him out a window after he climbed up a tower, but hell, he'll just come back in a wheelchair and become king later on. What I'm saying with that analogy that is as good as the ending is that he would see it coming, and could just alter life so that it would never happen. Plus, he can travel through time. This kid can make a pocket universe under his bed sheets while he should be sleeping. The laws of reality don't apply to this kid, so you will never be able to kill him. He's just too damn powerful. He is literally God. And at 2, everyone on Earth 10011. Earth 10011 is also known as the Cancerverse, an Earth whose history is identical to that of the main Earth 616, but with the Avatar of Death being destroyed when Mar-Vell was on his deathbed, using a ritual known as necropsy. They eliminated the Avatar of Death, making it impossible for anyone to ever die on this Earth. However, this doesn't mean that you stay in your prime forever. No, the Avatar of Aging, if that's even a thing, is still kicking, and you're gonna have more wrinkles than a Kardashian before she goes to see Dr. Fix Me Up. Death is literally dead. There is no way you can die on this Earth. That is all I can say about this. And that just proves my point. I wanted this to be number 1, but there is something more current that I feel will make more sense in this context. But like after this whole thing has died out, no pun intended, I guess it won't really make more sense. Whatever. Finally, in at number 1, Liesl Pon. Liesl Pon is one of the more obscure members of the Green Lantern Corps. I'd say honestly one of the most obscure. And while Liesl may not be able to be killed, the reasoning requires some explanation. Liesl Pon is a smallpox virus, being microscopic yet sentient and capable enough to wield the Green Lantern ring. It goes on missions that other Green Lanterns can't undertake, be it physically or biologically. To be honest, Liesl has played an integral role in various Lantern events, like in the Sinestro Corps War, where he helped to save Guy Gardner's life by defeating Sinestro's virus. Liesl cannot be killed because he's a virus, and technically a virus is not a living organism. Viruses are defined as organisms on the edge of life, since they defy all standard definitions of being alive. So while they're almost alive, they're not, and therefore cannot be killed in the same way. It can be destroyed, but it can't be killed, because technically it was never really alive. And I figured a virus was pretty topical for this list, so there you go. It might be cheating, but I don't care. You're welcome.
Starting us off in at number 10, Hope Summers. Hope is the adoptive daughter of Cable, a character who first debuted in 2007 in X-Men issue 205. She was the first mutant born after the events of House of M and Decimation. Now because of this, she had a big old target on her little baby back, because she was a baby then, with Cable saving her, claiming that she was a messiah destined to save both mutant and humankind. Now Hope is capable of something called superpower manipulation. This means she can mimic other powers, activate activate the powers of others, and enhance powers. Plus, she's an Omega level mutant to boot. She got a major power upgrade during the Avengers vs. X-Men story arc when the character was bonded with the Phoenix Force, which gave her immortality. Up next, number 9, Mistress Love. Let's move on to a Marvel character cut from a very different cloth, a god. We're talking about Mistress Love, who debuted back in 1982's Defenders issue 107. The character is the physical embodiment of love, much like how Mistress Death is the physical embodiment of death. While we've never seen the full extent of her powers, this abstract entity is one of the universe's most powerful, and she can control emotions related to love with any being, even on a universal scale. Her powers are said to be stronger than Galactus or Odin, but not as strong as Eternity or Infinity. Also, fun fact, her gender and appearance are mutable, meaning she can also be depicted as a man. She often reflects the desires of those who see her. Up next, number 8, MOIRA MACTAGGERT. MOIRA is not just a hot scientist, people. This was big news in the recent House of X, where it was revealed that she wasn't just a human ally and a mutant advocate. Oh no, girl is a mutant too, people, and she's impressive as Moira's mutant powers allow for her to reincarnate, in a sense. She's a mutant with limited reality warping reincarnation powers. She has perfect memory and is able to hide her true nature to mutants and mutant detection devices. So far, she's lived 10 lives, having started her life again after she died, possessing full memories of her previous lives. When she returns to being in utero, she's fully sentient. So yeah, that is pretty darn impressive. Moving on to number 7, DC's Valkyries. Moving on from Marvel over to DC for this number, let's talk about a group of bad women, the Valkyries. While notably different than the Valkyries of Marvel fame, DC's Valkyries are still rooted in Nordic legend, being armored maidens who ride winged horses from a place called Asgard. They would first appear in a DC comic all the way back in 1946 in Comic Cavalade issue 17. And have appeared since with little consistency. In the Golden Age, they appeared as Wonder Woman villains, but now on Prime Earth, they are part of the same race as the Amazons. Regardless, they have always remained immortal beings, ones with superhuman strength and quite the talent for combat. Up next, number 6, CIRCE from Earth 2. Another DC character at this number. CIRCE, specifically the CIRCE of Earth 2, is immortal. This version, who debuted during the Golden Age in 1949's Wonder Woman issue 37, was initially a villain for Diana prior to being defeated by her. After her defeat, she would be taken to a place called Transformation Island, located on Paradise Island, where she was taught the ways of love and discipline by the Amazonians. CIRCE's immortality is rooted in her magic powers. She also has the ability to command Sorkan jewelry trees using chlorokinesis, and is capable of metamorphosis with the ability to turn humans into animals. She also has a killer jawline. That's a power too, right? In at number 5, THRENODY. THRENODY is Melody Jacobs, a Marvel mutant who first graced their panels in 1993 in Strife's Strike File issue 1. She's a necroplasmic energy vampire, empowered by necroplasm. She's capable of sensing certain necroplasmic energies that surround an individual when they are dying or near death. To her, she's enraptured by the scent of death and the taste of the energy. Eerie, isn't it? She can also manipulate said energy to absorb the remaining life energies that a dying individual is releasing, and then can convert them into explosive plasma or temporarily reanimate someone into a zombie. In other words, don't with her. She can create hordes of zombies if the energy is in supply. Now, because of these powers, she is also immortal, able to absorb the necroplasmic energy of her own death in order to regenerate or return to life. Up next, number 4, All-Mother Storm. This version of X-Men member Storm hails from Earth 20329, also known as Marvel's steampunk god world. Yes, that is a thing. This is a universe riddled by mutant gods, who eventually an evil Charles Xavier took mental control of. In this universe, Storm is an immortal god known as the Skybreaker and is married to Thor. When she was taken over by Xavier mentally, he caused her to create a massive drought. Luckily, she wasn't under his control for too long and would offer the other X-Men the ability to become immortal, turning Emmeline Frost Summers into an immortal god with a diamond body. I wonder who her parents are. All-Mother Storm has the same powers as her 616 counterpart, but with a divine twist, seeing that she is immortal and has the ability to bestow god powers and immortality onto others. And as she puts it, she's free forever from the pain, doubt, and agony of mortal life. Moving on to number 3, Donna Troy. Donna Troy, previously known as Wonder Girl, is an Amazonian who, after some fun retconning, was created by an evil sorceress to destroy Wonder Woman. Diana would find out about this, save the day, and then shield Donna from the truth of her origin by giving her false memories of being a normal girl who was rescued and raised as an Amazonian. Ah yes, gotta love a retcon. Donna would become a founding member of the Teen Titans and has long remained a part of DC's canon despite enduring her fair share of retcons, as we mentioned multiple times at this number. She was gifted immortality thanks to her Amazonian physiology. Amazonians, fun fact, can live forever, but can be killed in combat or by accident. And if you're part of the Amazonians of Bana Migdal, well, they lost their immortality when they broke apart from the original Amazonian group. So, with Donna Troy being on our list, it's probably no surprise that our next number found her way into our top 3, and at number 2, Wonder Woman. In general, Wonder Woman is a character who has had a tough time getting killed thanks to how immensely strong and powerful she is. For the record, on Prime Earth, Diana Prince has been bestowed with divine empowerment, gifted with various powers by the gods of Olympus. She's a demigoddess with longevity that allows her to live much longer than the regular human being. But she ain't immortal. That being said, she is a character who has had multiple iterations of her created in the past that exist on other Earths that are, in fact, immortal. This is the case on Earth 2, Earth 508 aka DC Super Friends, Gal Gadot in the DC Extended Universe, a slew of negative Earths for the Dark Multiverse, many of which she's murdered in despite being immortal, and even the Wonder Woman television series starring Linda Carter. Diana in general is also one of DC's iconic trifecta, meaning she's got a decent amount of plot armor that prevents her from being killed off at the whims of DC's publishers. And hey, that counts for something, right? And finally, in our number 1 spot, Jean Grey. I mean, there's a slew of jokes that could be made here. Girl has died again, and again, and again, and again. But there's also a lot of truth to it, thanks to her being an Omega-level mutant and one of the most powerful female superheroes out there. Jean, without the Phoenix Force, is incredibly powerful, but when acting as the Phoenix Force's avatar, that power multiplies significantly. She's capable of manipulating matter and energy on a subatomic scale using her telekinesis. She's capable of resurrection, which is largely to thank for a handful of her resurrections. This makes her immortal to an extent. When she does die, she won't stay dead. Case in point, let's count those deaths and resurrections. Or at least some of them. The first happened in Uncanny X-Men issue 101 in 1975 when she first encountered the Phoenix while trying to telepathically maneuver a space shuttle with her teammates on it safely back to Earth. She crashed and seemingly died, but turns out the Phoenix Force saved her, resurrecting her in that very same issue. Once it corrupted her a little later on, she took her own life in Uncanny X-Men issue 137 in 1980. After that, Madeline Pryor, her clone, showed up, Cyclops fell for Madeline, they had a kid, and then the real Jean came back in 1985 with the reveal that the Phoenix had actually made a copy of her, and put her real body and self into an egg underwater, the Phoenix egg, in which she was reborn again and absolved of the planetary genocide that the Dark Phoenix version of her committed. Convenient. In the early 90s, Jean would be killed by a Sentinel, but then resurrected 2 issues later. Then, during Grant Morrison's run on New X-Men, he killed her off when the Phoenix Force bonded with the real her, and in order to stop her, Magneto used an electromagnetic pulse to give her a stroke, with Wolverine then stabbing her in order to save her from an agonizing death. I mean, that sounds pretty agonizing to me. She would be resurrected again in 2005 in Phoenix Endsong, in which her soul went into a dimension known as the White Hot Room and ascended to another plane of existence. So technically she was dead, but not really? From there, whether she was dead or not, she would be MIA for over a decade, eventually coming back in 2018 in a story titled Phoenix Resurrection: The Return of Jean Grey.